All right. So yesterday's class we completed the comprehension, both questions one and question two. Today we'll be doing the summary, at least getting started with it. You will probably have homework today, and on that note, I will create a Google Classroom and share the link or the code with you on the WhatsApp group. I will assign the summary on Google Classroom, so you will have to do that before our next class and submit it. So I'll be able to review it. Now, as I mentioned in techniques to attempting the paper, read the text before reading the question. So text B, if you already begun reading it while I was setting things up, that's good. And otherwise, you can start reading now. The text is titled "Night Among the Trees." Right, again from the Specimen 2024 paper. So go ahead, take a read. Let me know when I need to scroll. And right, once we're done reading, we can take a look at what exactly we have to do. All right, should I scroll? Are you done with this part? Haram, can you see the screen now? Anyone? All right, I'm scrolling further. Um, yeah, that's all of it. So just get done with this and we can move towards attempting the summary. All right, so we should be done reading by now. One thing is to develop a reading speed, a good reading speed, because if you're going to follow the approach that I am suggesting, reading the text twice, then you need to have a decent reading speed because each round of going through the text will take some time, right? And you have 1 hour to complete one task. One task meaning the whole comprehension, right? So just splitting the tasks and the time. Two tasks for 2 hours, that means one task in its entirety will take, you should take 1 hour. Right now, the fine tuning depends on how quickly and how well you're able to attempt each on your own. One method of increasing your speed is to follow the text if you're doing it physically, and obviously your exam paper will be a physical paper. So you place your finger or a pen or something, obviously not to put marks on it, but a pencil or a pen or a ruler or something, and you just move it across the line, and your eyes follow, right, the movement of your finger or the pencil or whatever it is you're using. Try not to read out each word in your head. Just follow along. Unless there's a word you come across that you are unfamiliar with as far as the meaning is concerned, right, just follow along and you should, again, if you don't know, then practice, read. Your brain will automatically process the words and you will figure out the meaning. If there's a word, whether it's in the text for the comprehension or here in the summary that you are unfamiliar with, then try to work with contextual meanings. Right? So you read the word, you read the context, a few lines before, a few lines after, and try to just guess what this word might mean. The more you practice that, the better it gets. But since at this point we are practicing, you obviously try with the contextual meaning approach because that is what will help you in the actual exam. You won't have a dictionary to turn to. But now, because we are in our preparation and practice mode, you can Google it up, you can search a dictionary. I would suggest either Googling the meaning and seeing that the result you get is from Oxford Languages, or using a proper dictionary website or a proper dictionary app if you're doing it on an Android device or an iOS. So you get actual proper meanings, and you might get more than one, as we know, right? So among all of those, it might not be the first meaning, it might be the third or fourth meaning in the list that fits in this particular text. Also, it might be none of them. The word might have been used metaphorically, and so you need to connect the dots, right? So a bit of, you know, experienced advice about vocabulary. Now let's move to the question. Let me scroll back up over here. Now, for questions regarding the summary, you will not be asked to summarize the text in its entirety, not the whole text. They'll give you a theme. So let's see. Right, question three. Summarize what would appeal most. What would appeal most to guests about a stay at the Tree Hotel according to text speak. So they've given you a specific theme. It could be one single thing to focus on. It might be two, but not more, right? That hasn't happened so far in the English papers. So might be a single theme, might be two themes to focus on depending on the kind of content and information in the text. Uh, you must use continuous writing. So again, no bullet points, no flow charts, nothing like that. It should be in a paragraph. Use your own words where appropriate, which basically means use your own words as much as possible. As I said, 75-80% should be in your own words at least. Avoid copying log section of the text, so it needs to be focused. Just the main points, not even details, just the main points. And your summary should be no more than 150 words. This word limit is very strict. When the examiner is checking your summary, they will see up till where your writing goes to 150. Each word counts. Keep that in mind. Each and every word counts. Okay? So even if it's a word, even if it's an the article or the pronoun I, it's a word, it counts. So choose your words wisely. And right after 150, they put a mark. It doesn't matter how much you've written. They won't check. It won't count towards uh, your answer. So only up till 150. 10 marks are available for content. So you need to find, I would say, at least 10 correct points from the summary. The reason is because you need 10 to get those full 10 marks. And right, at most find 12 to 13. So that's the maximum possible points there would be for this particular text. Try to find all of them, try to fit all of them into the summary within 150 words. Right? And the reason I say that is if you found 10, if it's less than 10, then uh, obviously we're already missing on the best possible score we can get. If it is 10, then and we make a mistake, for example, we get three of them wrong, then the maximum possible we'll be able to score is 7. If we do manage to find those extra points, if you want to call them extra, or the alternative possible points, and you find all 12 or 13 of them, then, right, even if you get 3 wrong and you had found 12, you're still good with 9, right? So that's the plus. And so let's get to the text now. This part is going to be interactive and I need you to respond, right? We're going to go back to the text and I have my highlighter ready. I want you to read and tell me, okay, so the introductory line is not included. Remember the theme, what would appeal most to the guests, and read this part of the text. Tell me any points you feel that should be included in the summary. I will highlight them and then we can talk about them, whether they're valid points or not, whether it's the main idea or whether it's detail. Right? So I will need your participation to go on with this. So go ahead, read, and then let me know. But at this point, I don't want you to think too much about it. If you feel that a certain line is a valid point for the summary, just let me know and I'll highlight it. Okay, could you point me towards which line that is? Line number 14. Okay, we're all the way down here. Uh, Innovative designs. Okay, so we have 1 point to start with. Kais, Bakar, Amariza, anything? Hmm. 19 and 20. Yeah. So what part of line 19? The whole thing? Britta led me, Britta led me along a narrow path through a glade of birch trees, explaining as we walked why the couple want to share their passion for this beautiful forest environment with guests. Okay, I'll highlight that all of this. Whoops. Okay. Okay, so you guys are already, you've left the earlier paragraphs, the starting paragraphs. Are you sure there's nothing there? Could you guide me to the line number? Line number 7. So that's here. Surveying the landscape, this part. Okay. So if you feel that there's still some information over here that could be used for the summary, then I'll keep this part of the text on screen, otherwise I'll scroll. So let me know. Okay. All right, so far we have 4 points. Should I scroll? See the rest of the text? Line number 5. What in line number? Just this much? Okay. Last call for this part of the text. Anyone with possible point to highlight? Done. Mhm. Okay. Any other possible points from this part? If you feel there is something, yeah. Line number? I'm sorry. Haram, which line were you talking about? Hmm. So we'll go with this entire thing. Yes, Bakar, was that you? Which part are you talking about? Yeah. Okay. So same point. All right. So let's take a look at the last few lines. Line 37. Anything from the last paragraph? Activities such as noisy snowmobile safaris are definitely out. This part? Okay. Now, assuming we are done with this round, let's first of all see how many points we think we got. So we have one, two, three, four, five. Okay. And six, seven, eight, nine, and 10. So we do have 10 points highlighted, which looks good, but let's, actually, be critical about this. Now, the reason I ask you to read it first before looking at the question is so that you have an idea of what the text is talking about. And that would make finding the points relatively easier because you already know, you've already gone through the text once. And so the second time you're more focused with the reading. Okay. Uh, Also keep in mind in text, do not expect that the points will be evenly distributed throughout. So it could be that a certain part of the text does not have anything to offer, and then there's like a paragraph or two that seems to have, oh, this one has like 5 points in just these like few lines. It can happen. Don't be fooled by that. Okay, now let's take a look at the points. Again, what would appeal most to guests coming to the tree hotel, right? So the very first point we have, right, not first that was highlighted, but first in order. So a tree hotel in northern Sweden. Now I would ask what is appealing about this, right? The fact that it is in northern Sweden itself is a point of appeal. Uh, no, right? So when they're asking for what would appeal most to guests is, certain features about the hotel itself or the surroundings of where it is built, or maybe, the facilities at the hotel, something like that, right? Uh, we could argue as a regular person, well, it's in northern Sweden, it's a beautiful place, right? So that itself would appeal to me. But the way we want to go about, I would not take this into consideration. Okay, so I will remove that. Next is, right, it is surveying the landscape. So again, Sweden is beautiful. If it is surveying the landscape is most likely beautiful as well. So that would appeal to me. If I'm staying in a hotel and I've got a beautiful scene to look out the window when I'm in my room, I would like that. Innovative designs of the tree hotel, right? As a guest, would I like the innovations? Probably. So that is a good point to include as well. All right, now these two lines. Britta led me along a narrow path through a glade of birch trees, explaining as we walked why the couple want to share their passion for this beautiful forest environment with guests. What is the point of appeal over here for guests? They're explaining, right, why they want to share their passion for the beautiful forest environment with guests. That's a good thing, sure. But what would, like, the information in these two lines, how would that be relevant to what guests would like? So I don't think there's anything over here that is relevant to the theme of the summit. So I would remove that. Okay, the most striking of the tree houses is a glass box perched high in the forest. Mm, right, not right. So I'd leave this for later, right? I do have comments about this, but I'll leave it for later. Okay, you have an almost 360-degree view of the surrounding trees. Definitely something I would like as a guest. So that's a valid point. In summer, you can actually sleep out under the open sky. Again, something I would like, probably, at least as an option. Uh, okay, a fifth and final tree house in the collection, the UFO, opens at the end of October. Now, with this point and the one I left for later, Rashna, the most striking of the tree houses, a glass box. So they're talking about the mirror cube. All right, this is detail about the mirror cube, and over here they're talking about a fifth and final one called the UFO. Individually, these won't be points, right? And I also say that because I've gone through the mark scheme. So individually, they won't count as points, but if we take those into look at them together. So there's another point over here. They're talking about the cabin, which is another of the tree houses, and you take them together, and what would be appealing would, you could say that it is, a variety or range or choice of different tree houses, right? And they all have their special features. So the cabin is organically shaped, and the mirror cube is, perched high in the forest, disappears into the foliage, right? So individually I wouldn't go for these, right? But together they could make a point, and they do actually, right? It is a valid point that you have a range or a variety of tree houses available, right? Okay. We can stop for coffee, cake, and conversation with a local family. So interacting with the locals, um, that's a valid point. Activities such as noisy snowmobile safaris are definitely out. Uh, this is a valid point, and this would bring me to tell you that sometimes what Cambridge does is they clump certain points together as one. So if you take a look at the mark scheme for an English paper in particular, or a language paper, let's say, right? So you also have Urdu if you're taking any other language by any chance. Then you would see, oh, well, right, so and so points are clumped together as one, even though they're appearing at different parts of the text. So this one, right, is clumped together with certain other points that perhaps the student or even myself as a teacher would feel, oh, they're individual points. But no, Cambridge is considering them as a single point. And what that would mean is if I note them down and I write them down in my summary, I will only be awarded a mark for them once. So any one of those. So for example, right, there's a point, the 13th point in the mark scheme, that the tree houses are built sustainably, they are environmentally friendly, they are built with sensitivity to wildlife, right? They're built on land originally sold from logging. And if you take a look at the text, the logging part is over here, right? They persuaded the forest's new owner to sell it to them, so the logging thing is over here. Then, right, they've got the environmentally friendly toilet part over here. So environmental friendliness, sensitivity to wildlife, they're talking about the infrared film that is visible only to birds, and also, right, this particular point that we have activities such as noisy snowmobile safaris. Why is that? So that the wildlife is not disturbed. That's the reason why those activities aren't allowed in the premises or the surrounding areas. And even though you're getting these points from different parts of the text, Cambridge is considering any of these points as a single mark. So if you include two or three of these, thinking, oh well, logging is separate, environmentally friendly toilet is separate, snowmobile safaris is a different thing. Yes, technically they are, but not for the mark scheme, not for the examiner. And so, right, what do we do about it? Well, there's nothing really that we can do about it. What we can do is try our best. That's all we can do. That's the only suggestion I have, because I cannot give you any technique to somehow read the examiner's mind, right? And so you try and pick out as many unique points as you can. And then if you see that, oh, well, maybe, and the flip also happens. Sometimes 2 points seem to be similar, and Cambridge lists them separately, even though they're saying, you think, well, it's the same thing. Cambridge is like, no, those are two different points for us. Happens both ways. We can't really do anything about it. Right? So what we can do is practice and try our best. Okay, so now with all of that, how many do we have left? We've got surveying the landscape, that's one, innovative designs two, 360-degree view three, summer sleeping four, stopping for coffee five, and activities six. We've got six. And this point, as I mentioned, you can put these together and say variety of tree houses is seven. So we're actually short on three for a total 10, and then short some more for the maximum possible. So let's take a look at this. Okay, the first paragraph, and I'll just change my highlighter color. So yeah, change highlighter color. Come on. Oh well. Okay. So being able to relax, living out your childhood dreams, and now you're probably going like, oh right, like, yeah, back to nature retreat. Okay. Now I would highlight the logging part, but as I mentioned, they all count as one, right? So there's no point in going for that again. But right, if I were to highlight right, this part, or the forest behind their guest house had been sold for logging, all of that, and not the snowmobile part, right? I would still get a point. So technically, right, this is it. Okay. Right. Sorry. Guests usually leave their luggage here and just take a small overnight back. They want to get the feeling that they're leaving one world behind and entering another. Would that appeal to me? Uh, I guess, right? A very different experience from everyday life and routine. What else would I like? So the walking's not there. Okay. Again, the environmentally friendly toilet thing is again clumped together with the snowmobiles and the logging. Uh, Underfloor heating will keep it cozy through the winter. I would like that. Right? Winter is coming, and so underfloor heating would be nice. Now here again, I would highlight right how points are taken together. So an almost 360-degree view of the surrounding, and then right there's even a window in the ceiling to look up into the sky. Uh, Either of these is taken as one point. So if, right, I think, oh, you I can, include this and this, you could, but the mark scheme lists that as a single point. Oh, this one is right. Reflective cladding means no one can see in, but you can see out. So that, right? So there's privacy. As a guest, would I like privacy? Yes, I would. And I believe we're done. So did I end up with more than 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, right, not 11, 12. 11. So, right, both of these are single points. 11, 12, and 13. Right, so those are the maximum points you could get. Those are all the points you do have. You've got them. Right, and if any of these points don't make sense to you, the ones you weren't able to pick out and I highlighted them later, you can ask why is that particular line considered a valid point. Now, what we want to do is first of all rephrase them. Rephrase as many of them as much as we possibly can. So, right, do we have time on Google Meet? We have 13 minutes. So I'll try and do a few of these. Now remember, it's not 100% because there's some phrases that you won't be able to rephrase. Right? There's some lines, there's some words that you won't be able to do. So that's why I said 75 to 80% should be the target minimum. Now I need the whiteboard for this. Unfortunately, I can only share one screen at a time with Google Meet. Right, can you see the whiteboard? Right, and now I will introduce you to my absolutely not so fantastic handwriting. Right, so what do we have? We have, right, imagine relaxing here on summer evenings. Can we do anything about that? Oh, let me switch screens on the recording. Okay, good. So, right. What did we have again? We had imagine relaxing here on summer evenings. So we could say think about, oops, sorry, I'm a bit new with this. We could use relaxing, we could use a synonym for relaxing. Do any of you have a synonym for relaxing? Unwinding. right? And we can't really do anything about summer evenings. So that's one point. What else do we have? Living out your childhood dreams. Whoops. Okay, how do I go back on that? Living out your childhood dreams. I don't really think you can do much with that point. Uh, Surveying the landscape, overlooking, uh, overlooking the landscape, right? Or the forest scenery. I'm sorry, my handwriting isn't the best, but my I'm new with this particular pen, so it's adding to, right, the mess. Then we've got back to nature retreat. Can we do anything about that? We can, right now. So sometimes you don't really need to change the words entirely. You can also get by changing the sequence of the words. So instead of saying back to nature retreat, we can say getting back to nature, or getting in touch with nature, or experiencing nature. Right? So any of those would work. So innovative designs. What can we say for innovative designs? We could say innovative architecture, or creative architecture, or creative designs. Why are you not writing? No. Or perhaps we could use futuristic. So how are we doing on time? There's 6 minutes. So let's just do one more point as an example. And we have, right, leaving one world and entering another. So for that, we could say feeling of being transported to a different world or dimension. Well, that would work. So, right, I have done half the work for you. Right? I put 5 points on screen. I left out the childhood memories one, childhood dreams one, in fact, not childhood memories, because there really wasn't much we could do about it. Oops. Okay. So the remaining points are for you to rephrase, and so your homework, I'll just tell you what to do for next class. Your homework, and I'll share screenshots for all the highlighted points. So what you need to do is rephrase the points and then write out your summary. Now, uh, well, I'll talk about the writing process later. Right? So just write out your summary, try and make it all fit within 150 words, 150 max. If it's less than 150 by some, for some reason, then try to have it at least 135 words. Because the question says no more than 150. That doesn't mean that it has to be exactly 150. It just can't cross that word limit. So it can be less, but how less, right? I would say 135 is low enough, because if you're writing less means that you're not writing properly, you're either missing a point or there's some other technical problem. Right. So if there are any questions, we have about 2 minutes to the meeting. If not, then I will set up a Google Classroom. I will assign this task as your homework. And right, I want you to do it before next class so we can review it in next class. Right. And if there's nothing else, then right, see you guys next time.